Elon Musk thinks we are in a computer simulation, a video game, a hologram. Very old concept, not new, not groundbreaking, not cutting edge. It's freaking ancient. I heard this theory could be 2,000 years old. But concerning video games, obviously because video games are fairly new, it has a twist. But the holographic universe, the simulated universe, has been around. The idea and the theory of that has been around for a long time. But what I don't get, this is what I don't get about this whole story. Elon Musk net worth, because it's so important. Of course, if you're famous and you're rich, we have to know exactly how rich, because apparently how rich determines how insightful and how spiritual you are with knowing whether we are in the Matrix or not, which is a huge load of crap. It doesn't matter if you're Bill Gates, okay? It doesn't matter if you're Warren Buffett or Carlos Slim. It doesn't make you more insightful on whether we're in the Matrix or not. I would argue to say the poorest person on Earth with nothing to their name, they probably have greater insight into whether we are in the Matrix or not. So I'm not an idiot to fall for this, ooh, Elon Musk is rich and famous. He must have secrets of the universe. No, he doesn't have any secrets of the universe. Proving this, he thinks we're in the freaking Matrix. Let's just listen to his reply and how stupid it is.
So the idea is, right, any sufficiently advanced civilization could create a simulation that's like our existence. And so the theory follows that maybe we're in the simulation.
That's a good point. That's a good hype point to put me in the realm of Stephen Hawking. Just ask me totally out there asinine questions that no one has the answer to. Since I'm net worth $11.4 billion, of course I have the answer to this, because money equals extreme spiritual consciousness, of course. We all know that. The more cash money is in your bank account, the more spiritually enlightened and more like the Buddha you are. That's exactly what Buddha taught us, right? The more money in your pocket, the more spiritually enlightened you are. Let's continue.
Have you thought about this? And
a lot.
Are we?
He's thought about it a lot. He's had so many conversations about it that freaking hey, dude, he's above and beyond the ascended masters. The Dalai Lama takes a back seat to the spiritual genius of Elon Musk. But let's continue.
Are we?
Even in hot tubs. So much so it had to be banned from a hot tub.
Even in hot tubs. Wow, that's quite the spiritual guy.
It's not the sexiest conversation.
Are we in? Are we in?
I mean, I think here's...
Are we in? Are we in? Are we in? Does the Matrix have us? Are we in? Are we in? Are we in? You're the most ascended master in the universe. Obviously, I'm being a little bit too sarcastic here. And I'm not one to say that Elon Musk is spiritually dead, but I will say this. The more money you have, the greater chances you will become spiritually dead. There seems to be a balance in the universe where if you have great amounts of money and great amounts of power, there's a chance you will be, to a certain extent, not focused on the spiritual aspects of life, but focused on the physical. And I'll go out on a leap here and say Elon is an atheist. So of course he's not going to believe in God. Therefore he's going to be looking for rational alternatives to God, and even irrational alternatives, which leads us to Pong. And today we're living in a modern day Pong, of course. You know that game where, well, he describes it.
And I mean, like the strongest argument for us being in a simulation, probably being in a simulation, I think is the following. That 40 years ago, we had Pong, like 2 rectangles and a dot.
Okay, all right. Okay, so his point is that clearly we've evolved greatly beyond this.
That
Right.
was what games were. Now, 40 years later, we have photorealistic 3D simulations with millions of people playing simultaneously, and it's getting better every year. And soon we'll have
So let's continue with Elon Musk's amazing insight and ascended spiritual abilities above and beyond the Buddha, making the Dalai Lama look like a spiritual, tiny man because of the great, enormous, over-the-top, awesome spiritual insight of this man who thinks we're living in a computer simulation. There wouldn't be a million stories talking about it if it wasn't true. Right? Am I right? Okay, so let's continue.
virtual reality, augmented reality. If you assume any rate of improvement at all, then the games will become indistinguishable from reality. They'll be indistinguishable. Even if that rate of advancement drops by 1,000 from what it is right now, then you just say, okay, well, let's imagine it's 10,000 years in the future, which is nothing in the evolutionary scale. So given that we're clearly on a trajectory to have games that are indistinguishable from reality, and those games could be played on any set-top box or on a PC or whatever, and there would probably be, billions of such, computers or set-top boxes, it would seem to follow that the odds that we're in base reality is 1 in billions.
1 in billions base reality. Okay, I have no idea what he's talking about. What the crud is base reality? What is base reality? Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. An objective reality that there is something out there that we are part of, not a simulation that is running, not a virtual system within a system. So base reality is us not being in augmented reality or virtual reality. So let's go back a few seconds.
Billions. Seem to follow that the odds that we're in base reality is 1 in billions.
The odds of us not being in virtual reality is 1 in billions. Where did you pull that number out of your butt, Elon Musk? Because I know you're not a mathematician. I know you're not a quantum physicist. So why are people taking this guy's words seriously? I'll tell you why. One reason, and one reason alone. $1.4 billion net worth. And that's the only reason why, but let's continue.
So
Tell me what's wrong with that argument.
Is the answer yes?
What's wrong with that argument is it's total BS and you pulled it out of your freaking butt. And people here are taking you seriously because your net worth is $1.4 billion. Other than that, I'll give you my opinion at the end of Elon Musk's opinion.
The argument is probably. But I just like. Is there a flaw in that argument?
I mean, someone.
I'm not sure what the error.
No. The argument makes sense. So the assumption then is that somebody beat us to it, and this is a game.
No. There's a 1 in billions chance that this is base reality.
Oh, okay. What do you think?
Well, I think it's 1 in billions.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean,
That guy does not know what base reality is, and he's not alone because it's such a question that it's all over Google. What is base reality? He has no idea, but let's continue.
that seems to be like clearly what it suggests.
Right.
And actually, I mean, arguably, we should hope that that's true, because otherwise, if civilization stops advancing, then that may be due to some calamitous event that erases civilization. So maybe we should be hopeful that this is a simulation, because otherwise,
Because they could reboot it.
well, otherwise, either we're going to create simulations that are indistinguishable from reality, or civilization will cease to exist. Those are the two options.
Nope, those are not the two options, Elon Musk. Not even close. Okay? Elon Musk is an atheist, and I understand many people are atheists because they don't have the proof. They haven't seen God descend from the clouds and say, hey, how's it going? So because no extreme contact between God and humans is common, we are left with people like this that are taken seriously based on the one reason their net worth is 1.4 billion. I wouldn't be surprised if crazy and worth billions of dollars goes hand in hand. Now, Bill Gates is a good example of someone who is not crazy, so it doesn't guarantee you're going to go crazy, but I think Elon Musk is a good example of someone who is going down that slippery slope. And because Elon Musk is going down that slippery slope, I don't know where this 50% chance comes from. He just said 1 in billions that we are not in a computer simulation. He just said 1 in billions that we're not, meaning he believes we are most definitely, and he wants to break us out of the Matrix. Tech billionaires think we live in the Matrix and have asked scientists to get us out. Now that's the number one problem right there, is they are asking scientists. Let me tell you something about scientists. They know nothing of the 5th dimension, of the 6th dimension, of the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th dimension. Keanu believe it. Silicon Valley billionaires think we're living in the Matrix and are funding research to help us escape. It's not a joke. This is a true story. Guess I'll tweet that out there. Elon Musk. I know I've already probably made fun of you too much in this video, but if you're listening, I know you're not, but if one of your people are listening, I doubt it, but if one of your people are listening, pay me the big bucks, and I will help you get out of the Matrix. And I'll tell you how we can do it. There's pretty much only 2 ways to get out of the Matrix, as far as I can say. 2 ways, alright? We are almost definitely living in a Matrix-style simulation, and that's what basically he says, because he's crazy. But let's pretend he's not crazy. I know how to break us out. Here's my opinion. He breaks it down. We're either gonna end all of civilization, or we are in a simulation, which is a good thing. And the guy next to him says, can they reboot the system? Well, we're not living in Westworld. We're not NPCs. We have consciousness. I guess someone argue that we are artificial intelligence, but we are not. All of this is an illusion. All of this is a deception. The fact is, the Matrix does not have us. We are not stuck in the Matrix. We're in this thing called an actual universe, which is not a simulation, created by a creator. Believe it or not, there cannot be a creation without a creator. Evolution, for example, or microevolution, or any type of evolution. Just because a creator didn't manually build Model A to Z and allowed a natural process to build itself, it doesn't mean that there is no creator, because perhaps the creator created Model A with a certain code to be able to progress through that code to evolve to the higher, let's say, the more evolved Pokemon. A supreme being, whether you know it, Elon Musk, does exist. I personally know a supreme being does exist, and I'll tell you how I know that. I'm not arrogant enough to think that myself, let alone anyone on the planet, is the most superior entity in the universe. I'm not arrogant enough to even have that thought in my head. Although I know for a fact there are many that do have that thought. They think they're the most intelligent entity in the universe. Even though we haven't explored even 1% of the universe, automatically they know that we haven't even explored 0.00001 of the universe. We don't even have any clue how big the universe is, alright? but we're not in a computer simulation. When you say we're in a computer simulation, it's another way to broadcast your religious belief of your spiritual self saying, I don't believe in spirit, I don't believe in a supreme being, therefore we're in a computer simulation. It's a total nonsensical belief, but some have said, oh, at least it proves there's a creator of the computer simulation. If you want to believe that the supreme being is running a computer simulation, that's your own personal free choice. It's not a new theory. As I said, it's a very old theory, but I believe it's one that's simply created, designed to help those that don't believe in a supreme being cope with what this reality is. And someone like Elon Musk, who can amass a fortune so easily, from his perspective perhaps, he thinks, maybe I've cheated the system. Maybe I'm like a Superman, and this is a simulation. I think there's a good chance that Elon Musk has been listening to Richard Dawkins, who has been talking about this simulated universe for a while now. Richard Dawkins obviously has played a game, an MMO, called Second Life. I do not recommend this horrible game. It's horrific, but in an interview, Richard Dawkins said he doesn't believe that we are in a holographic simulation right now because some people would be able to cheat and be able to fly like in Second Life. But perhaps he reverses his argument on the subject. Here is Richard Dawkins talking about the potential for an alien civilization creating this universe and them being essentially God.
I'm very intrigued by Second Life, very interested in the concept of a virtual world. I suppose you could say that the creators of Second Life, the conceivers and programmers, have in a way acted in a godlike way. I mean, they have made a world in which people can live, and that is godlike. You could imagine a science fiction novel in which we, the real world, you and me, actually live. It turns out we discover that we are actually living in a second life that's been created by some alien intelligence, some superhuman intelligence on another planet, perhaps, if indeed another planet means anything in the context of this discussion. So we are the computer simulation of an alien intelligence. That is the, quote, God that has created us. Well, it's an intriguing thought, and it's hard to disprove. But would that intelligence really be a God? That's the question that is interesting me now. Would that intelligence really be a God? And I want to say no, it wouldn't. It would have all the attributes of a God. It would be of gigantic intelligence. It would know huge amounts more about the laws of physics than we ever could know. It would be capable of feats that we could only dream of. And so in all sorts of respects, we would want to call it a God. We would want to perhaps worship it as a God. But it wouldn't be a God in the following very important sense. This alien intelligence would itself have had to have evolved by something like the same slow, gradual, incremental process as we evolved by.
This game's horrible. I do not recommend you ever play it. It's almost X-rated, so don't let your kids play it unless you want to expose them to X-rated material, because in Second Life there are rooms and worlds, different areas, full of nothing but X-rated material. I came across that as I played the game for 1 week, 2 weeks tops. Horrible, horrible game. Don't play it. The reason I actually downloaded the game was because I saw a website that had Back to the Future Part 2, like the Cafe 80s and the town square, and someone did a replica. They recreated the Back to the Future city, and I wanted to check it out. So I downloaded the game, which is free. I checked it out, and it wasn't there anymore. It got torn down because in the game, there is rent, and it costs actual money to upkeep areas per month. And the person obviously couldn't pay for it anymore, or they sold it. But that's the only reason I wanted to play the game. I did see a Blade Runner themed city, which was pretty cool, but it's not worth playing. The game is full of garbage, full of horrible people, but more specifically, just horrible decorators that decorate their houses and their entire villages with nothing but pornographic stuff here and there. There are like no filters. It's definitely an adult-themed game, but Richard Dawkins said that he was playing Second Life and he saw you can fly around in it, and if we were in a computer simulation, we would be able to fly around just like in Second Life, or people would be able to break the rules and bend the rules just like Second Life. Now, I could even argue, even though I do not believe we are in a computer simulation, I could argue such cases exist with ghosts, poltergeists, aliens, and paranormal things could be glitches in the Matrix, as is even discussed in the movie The Matrix. They said ghosts, aliens, glitches, deja vu was proof of a change having taken place or something gone wrong in the Matrix. I do not believe that's the case. I believe ghosts and even extraterrestrial contact are actual living conscious entities, spirit entities, composed of perhaps dark matter. We don't know anything about dark matter. Dark matter could be spirit matter, and I believe dark matter pretty much is spirit matter or higher dimensional matter. Spirit is just another word for higher dimensional matter, and we don't understand much about it, obviously, but I have had contact with a poltergeist entity that was apparently outside of the Matrix. The thing is, that entity was in the 5th dimension or the 6th dimension, whatever the case may be. It was in a slightly higher dimension, looking down on our little dimension. And our dimension may feel constricting, Elon Musk, but if you pay me enough money, $1 million, I will get you results on helping you leave the Matrix. There's 2 ways to do it. A, death. When you die, you do leave this 3rd/4th dimension and you go up to a higher dimension. I'm not suggesting you go straight up to heaven. I think, personally, everyone goes up to the 6th, 7th dimension, somewhere around there, and they hang out, and it's kind of like a ghost limbo. The second way, there's another way to do it, is leaving your body. I mean, if I was paid $1 million, yes, I would read a couple out-of-body experience books and teach Elon Musk these techniques, but I would give him a strong warning. I would say, Elon Musk, you can have lucid dreaming, even out-of-body experiences, but I don't recommend forcing yourself to do it. If it happens naturally, it's fine. But if you force yourself to do it, there's a rule where we're not supposed to leave our body unless it's part of the master plan for us to leave our body here and there. So some people can naturally do it. Some people use dark arts, and I would say dangerous practices to try to force themselves out of their body on a regular basis. These types of people can become obsessed with it and then not care about life, and they're obsessed with the dream world, or obsessed with the astral plane, or obsessed with out-of-body experiences. It could lead to unhealthy things. I'm personally content in my body in the 3rd/4th dimension until I die. Then I will go up into the higher dimensions as a dark matter spirit entity, perhaps, but it will be a higher dimensional matter which is invisible to this dimension. And that's my theory on the subject. We are not in a computer simulation. That's my opinion. I thank you for watching. This has been John Razimus with Pyramidal. Be seeing you.
Subscribe.